Okay, good morning. Can you guys see my screen? Can you guys hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, wala gid ko ka download sang virtual ka calculator, but I send or I post the guide sa ato nga LMS on how to convert rectangular and polar form using uh, your Casio calculator. Para siya sa under siya sa sa module 1 nato. Module 2. Under siya sa module 2 below your exercises. Para ang link on how to convert rectangular to polar and vice versa. Okay. So today we will be discussing the square root and nth root of a complex number. And let's try to finish this one with the Moivre's theorem. Okay. Okay, so in the previous module, we learned how the theorems are applied. So we solve the we identify the forms of complex numbers and how to convert, as well as the operations of complex numbers and how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide with some specific rules. So review muna tayo. Okay, so review tayo sa sa exponent rules natin. Okay, so we'll just write here. So review tayo sa power of j. This is the power of yan. So this is an imaginary. So power of exponents or power of j, no? So exponent rule tayo. So when you say j raised to 0, what is the value of j? Or what is the value of your I here? Give me one. Lahat nga values ng sang j if j raised to 0. So obviously this would be 1. Okay, so j raised to 0 is 1. How about j raised to 1? Ilang value natin? So j maghapon, di ba? And take note that the value of j is -1, di ba? So -1 times j, may arat kita sa j raised to 2. So ilang value natin? Platon nga j raised to 2. With the use of exponent rule. This will become -1. So may kita last time we discussed, diba? So kung ang exponent natin sa imaginary number is even, diba? So yung answer niya is either positive or -1. So real number pag even. Diba? And take note that j is square root of -1. So yung value ng j natin is square root of -1. Yan. So if j raised to 0, that is equal to 1. If j raised to 1, that is j. If j squared, that is -1. How about if j raised to cube? If j raised to cube, it can be j squared times j raised to 1. Diba? J squared times j raised to 1. Or that is equal to -1 times j. That is equal to -j. Or that is your -I. Yeah, and so on. So how about if j naman is -1? What is the value of this imaginary? Obviously, this is 1 over j. So this is just the inverse of j. Or that is equal to, expand this one, that is 1 over j. Multiply natin by fraction of j. Multiply natin by j over j. That is equal to, so multiply natin, that is negative j over -1. Or that is equal to negative j. Yan. So yung value natin for the inverse of j is equal to negative j. So take note of that, some rules. So review nyo lang yung just review your rules of exponent. Okay, so now proceed with our discussion. So first we have the square root of complex number. So how can we evaluate this one? So to evaluate the square root of a given complex number in a polar form. Okay, so take note, in polar form tayo. So you need to convert your rectangular form, exponential or trigonometric form into polar form to simply evaluate the square root of a complex number. Okay, so simply take the square root of the magnitude. So let's say we have the r here, angle of theta. This is your angle in degrees. So your magnitude, ito. So isi-square root lang daw natin yung magnitude. And then, multiply the direction by 1/2 or simply divide by 2. Okay, so meaning your angle now would be 1/2 theta. So this is in polar form. Okay, take the square root of your magnitude, then multiplied by 1/2 your angle. Or if the given complex number is in rectangular form naman, so let's say x plus jy, that is equal to square root of a plus jb. Okay, so we square both sides, square natin yung both sides, and simplify, then use theorem number 2 of the complex number. So this is just an alternative method. Medyo ano ni siya, ang second method natin, if that is hindi ka kabala mag-convert, di ba? Or you cannot, or you forgot how to convert from rectangular to polar, then this is the alternative method, right? So let's take some examples. So here, for example, evaluate the square root of 3 plus j4 by 2 methods. So let's try for the polar method and the rectangular method. So we have here the given of rectangular complex number. Okay, so first method, so we need to convert this one into polar form. And then take natin yung square root of both sides and follow lang natin yung direction dito o yung rule natin. Okay, so for this one, so if you convert this one, that is 3 plus j4. So yung equivalent niya is 5 angle of 53.13. Okay, so ano gani ang atong nga rule on how to convert from polar to rectangular, from rectangular to polar. Is nalipat ta kamo. We use the SOHCAHTOA. Okay, we use the SOHCAHTOA or trigonometric identities. So for the r, that is the square root of 3 plus or 3 squared plus 4 squared. Okay, or that is equivalent to 25. Square root of 25 is 5. Okay, so that's why your magnitude here is 5. Then for the angle naman, so that is arctangent of y over x, or that is arctangent of 4 over 3. Okay, so just get your calculator, solve that one, and then your answer would be equal to 53.13. Okay, so 53.13. So yung rule dito is, sabi, square root daw natin yung magnitude. So square root of 5, okay, can also rewrite it as 5 raised to 1 half, or simply square root of 5. And then, yung angle natin is multiply natin by 1 half. 1 half of, that is 53.13. Okay, so 53.13. Hindi naabot. Ayan, ito na lang. Square root of 5 and 1 half times 53.13. Or, the equivalent now, or the square root of this particular complex number is equal to this one. Okay. So, positive siya. So, take note lang, later on, we will encounter some kind of, let's say, hindi siya square root, nth root siya. So, the principal value, or the k here, ang ginatawag natin is, that is the non-negative square root, ang principal value natin. So, for our case, we will explore this one. We will take the deep. Okay, so explain natin siya mamaya when it comes to sa sa nth root na ng complex number. Kung bakit may k is equals to 0, k is equals to 1, and bakit naging nag-add tayo or nag-subtract tayo ng another angle dito. Yan. So this is for your principal value here. Okay, so if k is 0 and k is equals to 1, then if k is 0, this is your origin. Okay, ito yung origin mo. So ito yung pinaka-base mo na polar form. Okay, if k is equals to 1 naman, then obviously you need to add 180 degrees for your angle. Naka-shifted siya. And since negative 1 is equal to angle of 180 degrees, then obviously your magnitude here will be shifted to negative. So mag-i-inverse din to. Okay. So nag-add tayo, or it can be equal to this one. Okay. So nag-subtract tayo ng angle dire, 180 degrees. And then for your magnitude here, we have the negative na. Okay, that is inverse of 180 degrees. For the second method naman, let's check. So this one, we apply the theorem number 2 of rectangular form, in which we substitute, we use the two equations to unknown here, the equations to unknowns. So here, let x plus jy is equals to the square root of 3 plus j4. So this is the given one. So square root of 3 plus j4 given to. So yung first natin na i-evaluate is this equation. So need to expand here. I-expand natin sa left side. So that is x plus jy, part it is squared. It is equal to 3 plus j4. So if you expand this one, you will have x squared plus j, 2xy plus jy quantity squared. And take note that the j squared here is negative 1. So it will remain. Okay. So magiging y squared na lang siya, negative y squared. So your x squared minus y squared plus j 2xy. Then you will have now your x sub 1, x sub 2, x sub 1, and then your y sub 1. Ito yung x sub 1, ito yung x sub 2, ito yung y sub 1 mo, ito yung y sub 2 mo. Yan. Yung x is yung real part, yung y is yung imaginary part. So we will have now your two equations to unknown. So for our first equation, we equate the x natin. So x sub 1 is equals to x sub 2. And then for your equation 2, we have y sub 1 is equals to y sub 2. So, or that is y is equals to 4 over 2x, or that is 2 over x. So this is now your equation number 2, which will be used to substitute here sa ating equation number 1. So follow the process with the use of theorem number 2. Okay, so if you multiply both sides by x squared, cancel out, or just transfer out, no? So in this case, that is x raised to 4. Okay, so we multiply both sides by x squared, that is x squared times x squared, that's x raised to 4 minus 4. Dito na lang. So this will become, cancel out yung x squared dito, that is 2 squared. So minus 4 is equals to 3x squared. Yan, 3x squared. Then, we factoring, no? So reduce natin into quadratic equation and we factor it out. So this case, we have x squared minus 4 times x squared plus 1. Okay, so we reduce the quadratic equation, but in this case, wala tayong ginamit na. No? Hindi tayo gumamit ng quadratic equations here. We factor it out. No? And now here we have your x squared minus 4 is equals to 0. Or x squared is equals to 0 plus 4. Nilipat natin sa kabila. Or your x now is just equal to plus, okay? So plus minus square root of 4. Okay, and finally your x is plus minus 2 dito. So I think it follows pa rin, no? The quadratic quadratic equation, that is b plus minus, no? B plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Yan. So you have here your plus minus 2. So substitute natin the values of x obtained from the equation 2 to solve for y. So you have your plus minus 1. Therefore, the solutions are plus minus 2 plus minus j1. That is also equal to plus minus 2.236 angle, bar angle of 26.57 degrees. So yung sign mo dito sa magnitude, it will depend on the direction. Okay? So how will you determine if the angle is negative? How will you determine if the angle is positive? So we will learn that one to the next section or next topic, which is the nth root of complex number. Ayan. So ito na. So from the general exponential form and trigonometric form, no? So in the nth root of complex number, we have here the exponential form and the trigonometric form. And so here we have the z is equals to r e raised to j multiplied by the angle. This is in radians plus 2 pi k. So your k here is an integer, that is 0, 1, 2, and so on, or that is your n minus 1. So depende. And for your trigonometric form, you have your r CJS multiplied by theta plus 360 degrees. Of course, this is in degrees mo. This is in degrees multiplied by k. While in sa exponential, we have 2 pi. Okay. That is equivalent also to 360 degrees. So if you take the nth root of both sides, okay, so this is just the proof, no? Okay, so here we will have the general formula. So here we equate the two equations, that is the exponential form and trigonometric form. So we have here the w sub 0. This is the principal value or root, and your theta here should be a positive angle. Okay, so sinabi nga natin that your principal value is a non-negative square root. I mean, it should be a net positive angle. And your W sub 1, W sub 2, yes. It's okay lang, sige lang. It might be the connection. You can still rewatch the recorded session. Okay, so we have now your W sub 0, your principal value. And then your W sub 1, it depends kung ilang root siya. Okay, pero yung principal value mo or root mo or yung square root mo is your W sub 0 or it's just W. Okay, that is multiplied by K. That is your nth root. No? So tingnan natin an example. So we have here first, find the root, 3 roots of 125, or that is the cube root of 125. So you need to get the values of our equation with the use of this formula. So in this case, we have the value of given, that is cube root of 125. So that is cube root of 125. Yan. Okay, so this is your magnitude. Magnitude mo is yung 125, and then yung n mo is your nth root here. Or this is just your 3. Okay, so following this formula, W sub 0 is equals to 3 square cube root of your R, that is 125. Then quantity. So follow lang. That is cosine of theta. So theta natin from the start is 0 plus 360 degrees times K. So what is the K here? So that is 0, of course, plus J, then 0 plus 360 times 0 over, yung N mo dito is 3. Okay, ito pala. Ayan. So you have your N, you have your R, then at K is equals to 0, multiply lang natin by 0. So you have your first or principal value mo, first root, second, and third. Okay? Kung fourth root yan, then you will have your K is equals to 3. Then you need to follow the same pattern. So W sub 3 is equals to 3, then square root of 125. But in this case, yung K mo dito will be replaced by 3. Dito. So same pattern lang din, and so on. So I think this will be your 270 ba to? Hindi, ano to, 360 na to. Pagdating sa fourth root, 360 na. Okay. So that will become 5 angle bar of 360 degrees. Oops. 360 degrees. Yan. And so on yan. So magiging negative na to pag nag-add ka pa of 6th root and so on. So, andyan naman yung formula. So you just need to identify the number of root. So nth root siya, your magnitude. Then take the square root lang. That is a cube root. I mean cube root of 125. That is 5. Then you follow this trigonometric equation or trigonometric formula. That is cosine 0 plus 360 times the K over by the N plus J sine and so on. And so this is for your first example. And tingnan natin sa Argand's diagram. Saan ba to napaplot? Yung K is equals to 0, K is equals to 1, K is equals to 2. Okay, so if you take you'll take a look sa Argand's diagram natin. Yan. You have here your initial point. So it always starts with the x-axis going to counterclockwise tayo kasi positive. Okay? Pag positive, counterclockwise. Pag negative, clockwise. Okay? So here, we have W sub 0. So yung R natin is 5. So obviously dito siya. And if you take a 120 degrees, so this is your W sub 0, di ba? Nasa ano siya, nasa plane. Pagdating sa first root natin, or that is W sub 1, your value is 5 angle of 120 degrees. You have now your 90 degrees here. So counterclockwise tayo, positive angle. Obviously, this will be your W sub 1 if you plot it now. Or use the same magyapon magnitude natin. Okay, so the same magyapon natin magnitude which is 5. And then if you take the W sub 2 or the cube root now, you have now your 240 degrees counterclockwise. And then same magnitude, r is equals to 5. So this is the process now on how to plot your equation using the Argand's diagram. And how about the fourth root dito? You have your fourth roots here. So paano naman? So the same process. So we just follow the same process, and for this case we have the fourth root of 16, that is 2. So just take the nth root of your magnitude, and then for your angle, you just follow the trigonometric form. Okay. Okay, so we have here the given. May given time angle that is negative 20. So you just replace here negative 20. Okay, so how about kung yung given naman dito is exponential? Let's say 5j, 5e j, let's say 0 point something, 0.12. So you need to convert this one radians into degrees. Tapos ito yung isasalpak mo dito para ma-add mo yung 360 degrees. Okay, then this one, convert mo man siya sa for this case, since this is your magnitude, so copy mo lang dito. Ayan. So let's say third root of this equation. So yun lang din. So you have your r here, then your number of roots. So lagay mo lang dito sa formula, and then your angle. Okay, so for your angle, you need to convert it degrees from radians to degrees para ma-add mo siya. Then you will just follow the procedures here. Kung ilang roots siya. So first, second, third. Take note that your k here is equals to n minus 1. So your final, so since this is fourth root, your n here is equals to 4. So your final k should be 4 minus 1, or that is k is equals to 3. So ito yung fourth root mo. Ito yung fourth root mo. Yan. So your final answer will be ito. Okay, so same with this one, if you plot it in a Argand's diagram. So notice that the first equation here is negative 5. Therefore, clockwise tayo ng negative 5, and then starting from here, you will have your 85 degrees. So meaning from here, dito tayo sa sa x-axis mag-start pa. So hindi dito. Okay, so not at the dito mismo sa x-axis. Okay, sa positive na x, dito tayo magsa-start ng angle natin. Okay, so for this case, we have the second root that is 85 degrees. So from here to here. Yan. So the same magnitude. Then for our third root, that is 2 angle of 175. So again, from x-axis and so on. Yan. So positive x-axis lahat. Then for your last one, 265. So then of course, dito rin siya papunta. Okay, so papunta din yan. So questions so far, clarifications? Wala. So how about this one? So how can we determine the principal value? So yung principal value kanina, yung sabi natin, this is a non-negative. Non-negative na square root. So ano tong principal value nito? So let's take a look. For example, we have here 3 plus j2 raised to, okay, to itself, no? That is 3 plus j2 rin. So first, we need to convert it one to a polar form. Then we add a 360 degrees multiplied by the principal value of k, which is 0, or that is 3 times 3.606 angle of 33.69 degrees. Then review niyo yung yung logarithmic properties natin. Okay, so bakit nagka-ln dito? So take note that in your logarithmic properties, you have let's say y is equals to the value ng y natin is equivalent to e raised to ln of y. Ito yung logarithmic properties natin, di ba? Just try to review na lang. And for the natural logarithm, for the ln, we have the base e. So ito yun, base e natin. This is for the natural logarithm. Okay. For this case, we have convert natin yung magnitude. Yung 3.606, convert natin into logarithmic form para ma-add natin later on sa exponential form niya. Okay, for this case, your magnitude here is e raised to ln 3.606. Okay, so ito siya. Ito. So dito saan naman to galing yung e raised to j 0.588. So ito naman yung angle. Yung angle na to, kinonvert natin into logarithmic form, or that is e raised to j 0.588. So yung 33.69 degrees mo, kinonvert natin into exponential form, which is ito. Okay, so in this case, these two equations or these polar forms is now converted into exponential form. Okay, so combined natin, or that will become e raised to ln of 3.606 plus j 0.584. So you have here now your real number and your imaginary number here. Then we need to convert it to polar form. Okay. So first, we need to get the ln of 3.606, that is 1.283, then plus j, so the same lang. So here we get the ln of 3.606. Then convert natin into polar form. So you have your rectangular form now, that is 1.283 plus j 0.0588. So next part here, we need to convert into polar form. So you have your r, angle of theta, degrees. So from 0.588, convert natin yung radians na to into degrees. Or you need to convert this rectangular form into polar form. So that is 1.411 bar angle of 24.62 degrees. Okay, so ito na yun. So isang substitute natin. Ito sa exponent natin. So this two. Okay, ito and root mo dito. Okay, equivalent yan dito. So for your magnitude na 3 plus j2 dito, ko-convert natin siya into exponential. So in this case, yung exponential natin, this 3 plus J2 is equal to ito. Okay, so your 3 plus J2, convert natin sa exponential form. Ito siya. So shortcut na lang tayo. And then, of course, you have your exponent here, which is your, hinahanap natin yung principal value, di ba? So this is your exponent here, or your power, which is in complex form, in which na-convert natin kanina, that is e raised to 1.411 angle of 24.62. So therefore, from this case, i-add lang natin, di ba? Combine natin yung dito, yung properties of exponent, no? Di ba? May properties of exponents tayo. So e raised to, eto, multiply natin by dito. Ba't parang may ano? Wait. Parang baliktad, no? Okay, so polar form exponent pala. So, wait, baliktad tayo, baliktad. Yan, so ito na pala yung base natin. So this is your base now. Ito pala yung base natin. Tapos ito yung exponent na to is your from polar form to exponent na 3 plus J2. So dito pala siya galing. So 3 plus J2, that is equal to 3.606 angle of 33.69. Okay. Kaya pala parang ano. Ayan. So then proceed with the multiplication. So multiply natin polar form. So we'll just multiply the magnitude. Multiply natin magnitude and then add natin yung angle. Okay, so that's the rule of multiplication in polar form. So you have now your e raised to 5.088 angle, bar angle of 58.31 degrees. Ayan. Okay, then convert it again. Balik natin siya sa rectangular form. Medyo hassle to. In this case, now we use the product properties of exponents dito. Okay, so we multiply here. Review nyo na lang yung yung properties of exponents nyo. So this is the product of properties. Shortcut na natin. Try to check your try to review the properties of exponents. So product properties of exponents, bakit from plus, bakit naging multiply? Okay. So ano ba yung properties of exponent nito? So let's say if you have b raised to m plus n, this is also equivalent to b raised to m multiplied by p raised to n. Diba? So ito yun. So therefore, you can have your e raised to 2.673 multiplied by j 4.329. And or dapat may e pa to. E raised to j 4.329. But combined terms na natin, that is e and e rin. So combine na natin yung e dito. Shortcut. So this is one of your product properties of exponent. Then you will have your final Sorry for that. I got connected. Saan tayo nag-stop? Saan tayo nag-stop, guys? Okay. Okay, no? So for dito, we convert from exponential form to polar form. So your e raised to 2.63 na is just equal to 14.483. Okay. And then for your angle, you have from radians, convert natin into degrees, or that is equal to 248.03. So this is now your final answer. Okay, so that is how to determine the principal value of a certain complex number, no? So ito yung parang yung root mo o yung power mo is a complex number din. Okay, medyo maano siya. Okay, so let's take another example. Ito. 3 plus j4 raised to j. Okay, so ito yung power mo raised to j. So that is 3 plus j4. Convert natin. Again, so the same process lang. Into polar form. So that is 5 angle of 53.13 degrees plus 360 degrees K. So for principal value, yung K natin is 0. So cancel out to. So you will have your polar form now. And then, again, using the logarithmic property. So you have your 5 is equals to E ln of E. Ito siya. Then, multiplied by your E raised to J 0.927. Yung 0.927 mo dito is yung angle mo. Okay. Ito. So we take the exponential form for this one. Then, ito na-convert na natin to exponential form. So convert natin to polar form again. But parang wala. Okay. So na-simplified na siya. So we have here your E raised to, yung ln of 5 is 1.609 plus J 0.927. So the same lang din. So you apply here your E raised to 1.609 plus J 0.927. Your power now, multiply lang dito. Then distributive property. Okay, so you have your J 1.09, and then this is negative J times J. This is positive J times J, so this is negative, or that is equal to negative 0.927. So yung imaginary mo dito magiging real because of the J times J here. Then your real part here will be exchange to imaginary part. So yan. Okay, so we have here distributive property. Multiplication lang. Yan. Then you have now your exponential form. You have now your exponential form here. Okay, so what we'll do next here is to convert this form into a polar form. And your angle will be in degrees, no? So that is 92.19 degrees. So your magnitude is 0.396. And your angle will be 92.19 degrees. Yeah, so for the power rule, so power rule na polar form natin, take note na lang. So power rule. Of your polar form, no? So if you have a polar given of magnitude with the angle of theta with raised to an exponent or the nth root, then your equivalent value of that would be magnitude raised to n angle of n times the theta. Okay, so this is the power rule for your polar form. Okay, so r angle of theta quantity raised to n root is equal to r times the n angle bar of n times theta. So take note that this is in degrees and it applies only for the polar form. So wala siya sa ating module. Okay, so next. So we have the De Moivre's theorem. Okay. Let me check the De Moivre's theorem, and you have your logarithmic of complex number. Okay, we will try to answer the discuss this one. Okay, we have our next topic. This is the De Moivre's theorem. So it from Abraham De Moivre. It states that for any complex number raised to the nth power, yeah. So the outcomes will be equal to another complex number with magnitude equal to the original complex number's magnitude raised to the nth power of the argument equal to the original complex number's argument multiplied by m. So expressing this theorem simply shows that this is just your simple equations here. Okay. So wait a minute. And so it seems that our connection is unstable. So we'll just resume. Okay, you have here now your general equation for the De Moivre's theorem. So that is cosine theta plus j sine theta quantity raised to m, or that is equal to cosine m theta plus j sine m theta. Or in your m here is any real number. So dapat hindi siya naka-imaginary number. Okay, so real number yung m natin dito or yung power natin dito. So for example, we have here show that cosine 2 theta is equal to 1 minus 2 sine squared theta, and sine 2 theta is equal to 2 sine theta squared of 1 minus sine squared theta. So review your trigonometric identities for this one. So for our solutions, okay, so let's take a look for the solution here. So we have cosine 2 theta plus j sine 2 theta. So equal daw siya sa cosine theta plus j sine theta quantity squared. So this is in the, ano no, ito, trigonometric identities to, nito. Okay. Trigonometric identities. Wait, let's take a look. I'll check my notes if tama. Ayan. So, correct, no? Now, you need to expand this one, yung right side natin. That is equivalent to cosine squared plus j2 sine theta cos theta plus j sine theta quantity squared. So, take note again that this, your j squared here is -1. So, that will become negative sign. So, ito yung real part mo, ito yung imaginary part. Okay. So again, you will have to determine it using that theorem number 2 of complex number. So you will have to identify your x and y. Okay, so for this case, we have cosine 2 theta is equals to cosine squared theta minus sine theta. Okay. But we have here the double angle formula, trigonometric identities. Ito. And now, substitute natin dito. So that is 1 minus sine squared theta minus, ito yung sinubstitute natin. 1 minus sine squared theta, or that will become cosine 2 theta is now equal to 1 minus 2 sine squared theta. Yan. So, inad lang to, dalawang sine. So, that is 2 sine squared theta. And for your sine 2 theta naman, okay, so dito na tayo sa second, is equal to 2 sine theta cosine theta. But cosine theta is equal to square root of 1 minus sine squared theta. Ito siya, given. Di ba? Yung cosine theta mo dito is ito, based sa given. Ito siya. So what will be the answer now? So it will become sine 2 theta now is equals to 2 sine theta square root of 1 minus sine squared theta. So sinubstitute lang natin. Okay. So therefore, conclude na ito is equal to dito, and sine 2 theta is just equal to 2 sine theta 1 minus sine squared theta. And so we just used the De Moivre's theorem to evaluate these two equations. So how about the other one? Ito ano to, I think this one is in Pythagorean identities. So take note and review your algebra. Pythagorean Pythagorean identities. And so, double angle formula. Okay, so how about the second? Ito. So simplify lang to. So simplification. So you have your cosine 2 theta plus j sine 2 theta. That is equal to cosine theta plus j sine theta. So quantity squared. That is equal to cosine theta plus j sine theta raised to 4. So nag-add lang tayo ng exponent natin. Multiply pala, no? That is 2 times 2. That is 4. 6 times 2. 12. 3 times 3, 9. So therefore, your equations here will be CJS 10 theta, or that is equal to, okay? So inisa-isa natin, no? So first, ito muna. So ito siya. Second, ito siya. Then third, ito siya. And then yung CJS 10 theta, ito siya. Okay, so inisa-isa danay naton. And then we I think hindi nakikisama yung internet connection for today. So we will ano na lang, we will discuss na lang this one by next meeting. The De Moivre's theorem. Discuss natin ulit. Okay. So I have an intermittent connection. Okay, so ano na lang, discuss natin to by next meeting na lang ulit. Okay. So I will still send the recording para ma-review ninyo yung diniscuss natin. So we still have two, no? Still have one topic na logarithm of complex numbers. So next, ano na lang, next week. Next week. Next week, we will continue the discussion for this one. Okay? So, may questions, clarifications about siguro dito sa gin-discuss ta una, sa square root kag sa nth root sa complex numbers. Wala naman. So I will just send the recording. Upload ko siya dali sa sa YouTube. Then I will send you the playlist para ma-review nyo. Okay? By the way, sino galing nagdaog sa mesh? Do wala man na-announce. May nagdaog na, wala pa.
Wala pa, sir.
Wala pa. Sige, so good luck na lang sa madaog. So let's meet again by Tuesday next week to discuss the remaining topics, no? So amula na atong remaining topics, then I think we can have a some of the time by Thursday siguro next week. Please do your laboratory output. Okay, the certification niya for the MATLAB. Okay, that's it. Thank you for joining again, and sorry for the inconveniences because of the internet connection. Hindi naman siya ma-avoid. Okay, so that's it. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.